Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 11th, 2022 at approximately 1:46 p.m. PST. Finances are a fascinating thing, and if you desire to get your house in order, the first thing you've got to do is get the finances in order. Okay, now we've talked about listing off the bills that you've got. Have you done this yet? Because I will tell you that is critically important. Okay, go back through the last few of these. Essentially, of the videos I've done, essentially it boils down to this: take all your bills, everything you owe, utility bills, leases, credit cards, people you owe personally, list them all. Break them into three sections. Your living expenses. That's your rent, your mortgage, whatever that is, your power, your utilities, one active credit card. Only one. Now, whatever you do, do not cancel any of your credit cards unless you absolutely have to. Okay. It's actually more functional to keep hold of them. I am not a financial advisor. These are the tools I personally use. Okay. Now, with that in mind, once you get them broken down into three categories, your utilities, the interest accruing debts, that's where the rest of your credit cards, your credit lines go, any leases you have, any long-term payment plans you've got going on, all of those are interest accruing. And then you get all the rest of the bills. Anything you feel you owe somebody that they're not charging you interest on. Now, once you've got them separated, now you separate them and you organize them in order from smallest monetary, from the largest amount all the way down to the smallest amount that you actually owe. Okay. Now, the ones that we're targeting, you make sure your living expenses are all up to date. And yes, this is literally the same method. These are the tools I personally use. Okay, this is why I know they work. Now, before I go any further, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to our channel, as there's a lot of information coming up. Okay, and we go back over it as much as we have to. Okay, once you've got them listed, now your utility bill, your living expenses are the ones you have to keep in balance all the time. Now, let's work on the idea of getting out of debt. Now, of course, if you're in pretty deep, this method works, but sometimes we have to make an adjustment, and that's why I've got all the different all the different contact points that you can get hold of me if you've got a more complicated fashion of doing things. Okay, then absolutely, if you've got a situation where you don't have the money coming in to accommodate what you owe. Okay, there's a lot of different ways of dealing with it. I've lived that life. Okay, if you're making ends meet, this is how you get out of debt now. It'll take you a while. It didn't take you a short time to get into it, I'd wager. Okay, actually, in all fairness, I wouldn't. I don't tend to bet anybody. But when you've got it all listed, the ones we're going to target are the interest accruing debts first. Okay. Now, I've made a commitment to myself. This is, like I said, these are the same tools I personally use. Now, the reality is I came back to this lifetime for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everyone in existence that we can, working together, make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, so what we do is your money comes in, and the first thing you do, the first check that comes in, whether it's working, business, a government check that comes in, an income tax return, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's legal tendering coming to you, take 1% off the top and put that in your bank account. Take 1% and put it in everybody else's bank account that's in the household. And the reason I say that is because those people that are in the house are contributing, doing stuff around the house. At least I hope they are. Okay, so they are contributing to the income. by working around the house. The silliest thing I ever heard somebody tell me. Okay. And I tell you, it was fascinating. Because the way it worked out, the gentleman made the comment, his wife didn't work. She just stayed home and raised their 3 boys. In all the years I've been doing this, I've had one person, this was the one guy. When he told me that, I says, trade your wife jobs. And he goes, well, she can't do my job. I says, you're a landscaper. Trust me, she can do the job, and your boss is a good one. He will let her work for him for a week, and you still get paid. Okay, all you gotta do is let your boss know that, look, you're trying to save your marriage, and this is the best method. Okay, well, the guy did. He went to his boss, and his wife went to work for him in his place as a landscaper, working for the boss. He stayed home and raised the kids, took care of all the requirements. And unlike the movie, unlike the shows that they show you, where there's all these challenges that have to be done, this was just life as usual. Okay, so he did it, and a week later he comes back to me and he goes, never again will I tell my wife that she does not work. Never. She can have the house. She can do the housework, taking care of the kids. I'll go back to work and take a break. Right? So the reality is that's why you give 1% to yourself and everybody in the house, is because they are working hard as well. And this includes the kids. Okay. Once you've done that, now you make your, try that again. We work on your utilities, on your living expenses, get them up to date. Okay. Once they're dealt with, you take whatever's left over. Okay. And that's the money that you're targeting your interest accruing debts with first. But we don't target the big one. We target the smallest, monetarily speaking, interest accruing debt. If you've got a debt of $100 on a credit card, and you on one of your extra credit cards, and you've got a $5,000 debt, target the $100 one. The reason being, mentally speaking, it is easier to cope with one large bill than 15 little ones. Okay, as soon as I get done this video, I will be clearing my credit card again. Now, the thing is, I've been using it for living expenses. Okay, so it will be wiped out. I wasn't planning on wiping it out until the 15th, right? But I ended up with an extra little bonus of money coming in, so I'm dealing with that. Okay, but like I mentioned before, you got to know what your living expenses are to know what you're targeting. Now, for me to run my household, I require $2,500. Okay, I just got a windfall. And I don't honestly know if it's a windfall. I don't even know why I got it. Some would call it a windfall for lack of a better term. But I got a sudden influx of money that quite literally is 2 months of what I should. It's just over 2 months of what I would have earned. Maybe a little more. I don't know. Okay. But certainly just over 2 months of my living expenses. Most of that I will bury. I will put it aside and leave it there, just in case I run into a snag. Okay, I will take 1% and put it in my account, 1% and put it in my son's account, and then I'll clear my credit card off. Okay, now I wasn't planning on doing anything until the 15th, but in this case, it came in with a little bit of a bonus early. But that's going to put me ahead of the game. And this is what you work with when you're taking a look at your finances. Okay, you take a look at what you're planning on. You plan for the best. You brace for the worst, and you live for the moment. You have to adjust this sort of thing on the go. But by the end of the day, like I mentioned before, and this is why I say these tools that I offer, this is why I call myself a spiritual guide. Because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use. Okay, they are the tools that I put to use to get myself out of debt, to get back on top. So that's what's happening. Okay, And am I going to keep you abreast of the situation? Am I getting forward? Yes. But the reason I'm doing this is not to get a pat on the back for me. Okay. It's to let you know that whatever path you're going down, whatever financial struggle you're going through right now, there is a way to get out of it. And I will tell you, bankruptcy is not a viable option in most cases. In my experience, I was guided into bankruptcy twice, both erroneously. And for those of you that know anything about money and debt, get this. The first time I was guided into it with a professional accountant, a professional bankruptcy trustee, they guided me into bankruptcy on only a $6,000 debt. That's it. Now, that is absolutely irresponsible on their part. They made money. The people I owed money to lost money, and I lost a staggering amount of money. Okay, because it crippled me for the next 10 years. Then, and of course, because I didn't know what I'd done wrong, and they did nothing to show me that. Okay, for bankruptcy trustees, they did an absolutely appalling job. So I ended up getting back into another hoop. Okay, the first one was stupidity on my part. The second time was because my boss bounced a paycheck and they didn't tell me about it, and the bank didn't tell me about it until it was too late. However, in all fairness, it wasn't really too late. I was guided into bankruptcy a second time on only a $14,000 debt. Now, this is just insane. Okay, but it destroyed my credit. It made it absolutely impossible to move forward. Or so I thought. I now have figured out what I was doing. And if you're on the verge of bankruptcy, I'm not a financial advisor. Okay, I only talk about what I personally have done. I make no guarantees it will work for you, but it did work for me. Okay, and absolutely, as I told you with everything else, anything I talk about, do not just take my word for it. Turn right around and double check the facts yourself. Okay, I have dealt with creditors on a regular basis, over the years. I've dealt with the bankruptcy side of things. I've dealt with the whole pile. The only thing I managed to avoid was not once have I ended up on the street. Okay, not once. But these same tools I'm offering you are the same ones I've offered to thousands of people over the years. So the reality is, when you're striving to do something, talk to somebody that has done it successfully. I've successfully gone bankrupt twice and navigated myself back to a point where now I am debt free and I can start seeing my bank grow. I can start seeing my retirement come into play. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I've been doing a lot of writing. As you know, I've got 6 books in print. Okay, all of them available directly through me, plus one's available on authorhouse.com. Those same 2 books, those same novels are available on Amazon, on Indigo, Chapters, Barnes and Noble, and they're in the middle of looking, and we're in the middle of looking at getting them translated into, I believe, Spanish, Italian, and German. Okay, so things are starting to grow. And of course, just last week, I finally started to do a live broadcast. Okay, a live feed. And now there's a funny little app on there called Buy Me a Coffee. Okay, which I've got in motion. Now the live feed I did yesterday. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Okay, did that yesterday evening. That live feed ended up helping with selling a couple of books. Okay, I should have a couple of books on order. I've got to go in. I was told by one person that they're after a couple of the books that I've already got in print. Okay. And those books, by the way, are all listed below this video. There's a whole list of books I've already got in print and ones I'm working on. Okay. I'd love to hear your comments and see your comments in the comment section below this video. If you've got questions that are more complicated or that you don't desire other people to see, okay, drop me a personal note. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, and who knows, it may be something that I end up taking that concept, not your name. Okay, I only use my name. And there's only been one case where somebody told me flat out, go right ahead and use my name. So I did. Okay, but that's with explicit direction from them. And the fact that they were, in my opinion, they were a real motivational point for people. So we target the smaller monetarily speaking debts and get them off the books. That way you end up with a little bit more money available to work with. These are simple tools to get you back on track. Now, don't forget, you've got to have the area in your office working properly. In other words, get the clutter out of the way. Okay. Now I've got a whole list of things I work on here. This is the best tool. I talked to a few of you, okay, that are suffering from something from attention deficit or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I am not a psychologist. Okay, I don't know how to diagnose most of the stuff, but I can tell you this. This neat little technique I use of keeping a list of the different goals that I've got. You put a list together. The way to figure out where to start is where you're sitting right here, right now. Because it's time to get the energy in your office, in the brain of your house, working. By smoothing the energy out, by focusing on making that retirement fund of yours, regardless of how old you are. Okay. Now, I'll be 59 in a month. Okay. So I don't have a lot of time left before I hit what most people call retirement age. In all fairness, I'm probably not going to retire anyway. I'm pretty certain I'd get bored. Okay, but I am planning on getting these books making their own supporting income. Okay. So what I'm doing there, okay, I'll get the card cleared off today, get a little bit of money moved around. And then, of course, now get this. I was supposed to start this on the 20th, was when I figured I'd get it cleared. I get a paycheck on the 15th, and I get another chunk of money coming in on the 20th, and I've got a little bit more. Now, this is coming from somebody that used to be right on the edge of disaster all the time. Okay. I spent the majority of my life one paycheck away from living on the street. Fortunately, I'm finally at a point where I'm looking at things going, this is what I desire for me. Now, I just tossed out a bunch of stuff. And like when I'm getting rid of something, if there's somebody local that I know that can put it to use, I won't bother selling it. I'll turn it over to them. Okay, I just can't be bothered. Quite frankly, I've got the use out of it. So I spent money on it, got the use out of it. It can now go. Okay, and if somebody else can benefit from it without it costing them a fortune, or for that matter, anything aside from coming to get it, in my eyes, this is how you help other people. Now, this is just my opinion. Okay, it's just the way I live. Now, if you take a look at when we're looking at finances, okay, you look at the churches, okay, look it up on the net. Don't take my word for it, okay. But with the number of people that are starving on the street today, with the number of people that are fighting for their homes, the churches are sitting on the massive majority of money, and they're claiming to help people. Well, I'll tell you, they're not doing it, okay. And how do I know this? Look at the number of people on the street. Look at the number of people that are suffering, that the church is claiming. And the reason I say the church is because they're all in the same boat in my eyes. I don't see much variation. I mean, granted, there are some parishes out there that are doing a wonderful job. So this is how it works. If what I'm telling you applies to you or applies to your parish, then do something with it. If it doesn't, thank you for not having it apply. Okay, but the reality is we have to work together, and it can be done. And by the way, this does not mean if you've got X number of dollars. Remember I mentioned that thing of you take 1%? Okay, well, in this case, it means I'm taking 1% off my paycheck and putting it in my account off this check that's just come in. I wasn't expecting the check, but you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to put it to use. Okay, it's not just going to go and be splurged on something big. I had some big items. I've got some big items I desire to pick up. Absolutely. And I will get to them. But the trick to getting ahead is get focused on what you're aiming at and stay within your boundaries. Get the goals in place and live within those. Okay, I require $2,500 to run a household. However, most of the time I'm making about 35. So with that in mind, I should be able to stay debt-free at this point, since I'm debt-free now. Stay debt-free, and well, we're in April here, so we got 9 months left. 8 months, my apologies. Well, 9 because we still got April to finish. I should be able to put into the bank and leave it sit there close to a bare minimum of $5,000 extra in the bank by the time I finish the year. And that's just based on what I've got right now. This is not based on anything else coming in. Okay, like this is not based on a sudden windfall like the one I just got. Okay, but you've got to have a plan. The fact is, people do not plan to go bankrupt. They do not plan to fail. What it is you failed to plan. And my suspicion is that, like my parents, your parents did not sit down with you and go over finances as you were growing up. Okay, that is, bar none, in all fairness, one of the most crucial turning points for somebody to get a handle on their finances before they take care of their own. Okay, because I've ended up with this windfall coming in, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm bringing my own son in to take a look at our current books for the house so that I can go through them and go through them with him and go, this is what I'm dealing with. Here's the money that's come in. Here is what we're working with. Here's the numbers you need. Now it's time for you to figure out how much is there and get him to do the mathematics. Now, obviously, I'm going to do my own. But in this way, with real-time effort, we can look at getting his ability to handle money and to understand money to a point where he will not run into this battle again. Okay, now I was going to wait until I got a paycheck in, but hey, got a new check come in? I'm working on it now. I used to be a professional procrastinator. Okay, so the reason I go through this, by the way, with you is very simple. By seeing what I'm doing real time, you may be going through the same thing. And the idea here is to let you know that regardless of what you're going through, we can get through it. And I'm quite willing to sit down and talk to you. Okay. Now, am I a financial advisor? No, I'm really not. But I am quite willing to go, this is the tools I use, these are the way I dealt with it, and this is what's happening. Now, I'm still looking at a situation where I've got somebody that's adding interest to a debt that never should have been there. And I'm going to have to go down and talk to somebody, to a lawyer or something, and find out what my rights are, how I can stop it. Okay. Because, frankly, in this case, I really don't know. They're going to add prices to it, and quite frankly, it's a bill I've got no interest in. The reality is I told them not to do it. They did it, and now they want me to pay for it. Now, to my way of thinking, I have a very simple little problem. Okay, and that problem is that I look at the problem and go, it's not a right bill. If I pay it, I'm telling them it's okay to steal from me. It's okay to, quite frankly, charge somebody that has told you not to for something that they told you not to do, and then get paid for it. Now, to me, this is categorically wrong. Okay, but it's very important that you get it straight. Get the energy in your house working. Take a look at your office. Is it running smoothly? Is the energy running properly? In other words, is everything sitting where it should be? Okay. Can you operate in your office? Can you keep track of where things are? Okay, this fine little list that I've got right here. I keep it handy so I can keep it so I can get it done. But I got a whole list of things here to go through. Okay. Now, did things get a little sideways? They usually do. This is why I live by a simple philosophy. You plan for the best, you brace for the worst, but you live in the moment. Meaning, I know what I'm planning on doing with money coming in. I know how to compensate. Like I look at what happens if I don't get it. Here's the different contingencies. But I work on it on a daily basis to stay on top of it right from the get go. Okay, by doing that, it saves me a whole lot of hassles. Now, the hard part from most people's standpoint is where do I begin? Okay, now, I'm going to ask you again, did you get that list put together that we talked about? Do you know what bills you owe? How much they are, which of the three categories they fit into? If you do, this is fantastic. Now we start and remember, under your living expenses, you take one credit card or one line of credit. That's it. Okay. That goes under your living expenses. Every other credit card you've got, every other line of credit you've got, every lease, all of them are your interest accruing debts. Those are the ones we're targeting. Those are the ones to wipe out because as you wipe them out, you end up with more money. Instead of coming to the end of the month and going, I can't be out of money, I've got checks left. You get to the end of the month going, gee, I've got a couple of extra $100 here, which is wow. Now what do I do with it? Well, what you do with it is you put it in your long-term savings. You saved it, that's where it goes. Because if you spend it, what you're doing is going, I didn't save it. Now, with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.